Hey all. Now I don't know why I'm doing this topic. This is not something that I've been asked in a very long time. It's a topic that I used to be kind of renowned for, but you know, as you age and your hormones change and your perspective on life changes and just what you want out of life changes. And this topic is open relationships, or more open dating. I feel that there's a very distinct difference between those two. So what I'm going to do is give, from my perspective, 3 pros to this form of relationship, 3 good things about it, and then I'm also going to give 3 cons, 3 negatives, and it really doesn't take a genius to figure out what they are, but I'm going to go over my opinions on it anyway. And then also at the end I'm going to give you 3 myths. So the first pro, let's start with the positives, and that's that I really do believe that there is something to be said for competition anxiety. So I really do feel that people get complacent because there's no competition anxiety. I believe that, you know, even though it is an anxiety, competition anxiety, I might lose my partner to someone else, or they're in fact entirely entitled to sleep with someone else, date someone else. I feel that even though that is an anxiety, something that is, you know, a negative, no one wants to feel anxious, I believe that that brings some, that has a strong benefit to it as well. And that's that you really stay on your form and you really appreciate your partner or partners much more. Con number 1. Obviously, jealousy is a bitch. Now I've got another video on dealing with jealousy on my channel. This is just a few of my opinions on this. I certainly do not come from the place, you know, that many people do come from, that jealousy is a social construct, and then jealousy is just an insecurity. That's a really big one that I see a lot of people espousing, and I don't fucking believe a single word of it for a single second. I think jealousy is entirely natural, and in fact I think it's healthy. I think when you start bottling jealousy up, that's when it becomes dangerous, because that's when it becomes explosive. Now I view this on like a timeline, I guess. Now here is the side where you have just way too much jealousy and it's really you know, explosive, or you're violent. You know, this is the person arguing with their partner in a bar, or screaming, or just taking it way overboard, perhaps even to violence. And then on the other side of the spectrum is the person who has or shows no jealousy. Now I believe that this is one of 2 things. One, or perhaps one of 3. One, you really don't care that much about that part. If you're dating someone and it's kind of early days and it's kind of open and whatever, I've been there, you don't really feel much jealousy. That's speaking more about your relationship with that person rather than jealousy. 2, I just don't believe it. You're suppressing it down, and I've absolutely been there. You know, not accepting jealousy, pushing it down, seeing something that would make me jealous, and rather than addressing it like a fucking adult, you know, just pretending to myself and to my partner that it didn't bother me. And that becomes very dangerous as well, because it's suppression of a really powerful emotion, and you become kind of dead inside. And lastly, as people who have been in that community for a very, very, very long time, and they've really trained themselves for it. People have been in open relationships, or the, you know, more like the Tantra community, or you know, that kind of open relationship, swingers sort of society. You know, they have a much better grasp on jealousy. Second pro, now this is my personal favorite. It eliminates fantasizing. So at least from what I see, a lot of people build up something in their head which will never be in reality. You know, so you've got someone working in an office, you know, say they've been married for 10 years, whatever. They go to the same office every day, and they see the same girl, and you know, they're good people, so they don't cheat, but it becomes this fantasy in their head, you know, Jenny in the office, or, you know, Tom from accounts, or whatever. It becomes this thing where you fantasize about it and you think about it all the time, and it's this kind of, you know, this sort of, you know, sinful lust or something, I don't know. But the reality is, most of the time, if you do, you know, if you did go and do that, if you were allowed to go and do that, you would realize that it's shit. You know, you find an attractive girl in a bar, you go home with her, or it's a girl that you work with or something, you go home with her, and you're just kind of like, well, that was shit. And now I actually really miss my partner, and I really value what I have with her or with him much, much more. Con number 2, in my opinion, is passive aggressiveness. You know, when you're trying to find that balance on that timeline that I was telling you about, and you're trying to apply a lot more logic to your jealousy, so you're not reactive, but you're still trying to understand your partner and where they're at and all that sort of thing. Passive aggressiveness is very, very common. And that's because, you know, you're feeling this emotion and you want to get it out and you're angry and you're jealous, or perhaps you're depressed or whatever it might be. But you know that you're in this situation, and perhaps it's even you that has chosen to be in that situation, whoever has set up the relationship. And you're trying to find a balance of expressing and not exploding or getting super, super emotional. And it kind of numbs you for a little bit. So, and two people that are kind of not acknowledging how they truly, truly feel, in this case, really jealous and angry and disappointed or whatever it might be, it's kind of, what do they say, two ships passing each other in the night? It's not fun. Third and final pro, I'm gonna maybe try and mash 2 into here because they're kind of similar, and that's that you grow so much from your jealousy. As much as jealousy fucking sucks, and as much as it shines light on your insecure areas, by God, there's nothing that'll grow you more than that. And because of that, when you've got 2 people doing this, it really opens communication. Like, if you're in a partnership, I don't want to say relationship, or a partnership, perhaps it's a relationship, perhaps just a partnership, perhaps it's new, perhaps it's old, whatever situation you're in. If you can discuss your feelings about another person, or perhaps even being with another person, which is, the feelings is that, I guess it's inevitable, we're human after all. If you can discuss that and still be there for each other, ooh, that opens a whole level of honesty that I just, it can be amazing and beautiful. It can also be really fucking hard. But ultimately, I think that kind of growth individually and as a couple, it's pretty powerful, man. Okay, the third and final con, negative. Not many people understand. If you've slept with another person, then you can't possibly truly love her or him. Yeah, you're gonna hear a variety of this, of people that just either they don't understand, or it triggers in them some kind of insecurity in regard to this topic, especially if they've maybe been burnt in the past. I think the last thing that you want to do is try and convince them of anything. You maybe just want to state where you're at mentally, and your intentions, that your intentions are good. And don't try to convince them, because it's just, So quickly, what are 3 misconceptions about open relationships, about open dating? Yeah, look, the first misconception is that if you're this way inclined or in this sort of situation or whatever, it's that you are constantly hooking up with other people. If you're in an open relationship, that must mean that you're just a hornbag and you're out like taking every opportunity that you can. But I know from my own experience in the past and the people that I've met, you sort of take opportunities that you want to take when the opportunity is there, but it's not that you go looking for it. Now, other people are different to this, and they'll go to swingers clubs and all that sort of specifically. I guess what I'm saying is, just because you're in a more open style of dating or relationship doesn't necessarily mean that you're out pursuing everything and everyone that you can. I believe the second misconception is that you're inherently super kinky, that you must be into like super kinky sex and threesomes and foursomes and swinging from fucking ceilings and going to sex parties and fucking in front of mirrors, and not necessarily. The last misconception that came to mind when I wanted to make this video was that if you are in an open relationship or you're dating someone casually, it's that you discuss everything. After a weekend out or something, you sit down and you debrief who's hooked up with who, and who's, if you wore a condom, and who made out with who, and all this sort of stuff, and that you share absolutely everything. Now, to go back to the point that I made earlier, you do absolutely share more than your normal sort of household couple, but I don't believe that you're expressing absolutely everything. I've dated people in the past who, you know, one girl wanted to know everything and would debrief me after weekends, and she'd sit down and she'd take a moment and she'd, you know, think about things, and if something had happened, okay, she'd take a moment and whatever. And I've also dated other girls who have said, that's, you know, I'd rather not know, which I'm much more that way inclined as well. You know, I think it's just a personal choice, but there is a misconception, I believe, that a lot of people have, that you're just that couple who talks about fucking Billy down the road and Jeanette from the bar, you know, and you sit down and you happily discuss all this sort of shit. I'm just sort of saying that's not always the case. So yeah, that's it. Just a few thoughts. I don't know why I made this video, but it just came to mind, so I hope someone gets something out of it. If you are interested in sort of setting up more a relationship that sort of suits you and your lifestyle, I do cover this a lot in my book, so you might want to check that out. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's my parting message. Try to make decisions in dating that are for you and not what is necessarily expected or even demanded of you. You know, it's your fucking life, man. Don't waste it making your decisions to make other people happy.